The top 10 this week is, well, it's an interesting one, I think, because it's the top 10 awesome tourist traps. I mean, the places that are mentioned in every single travel guide, the ones that are teeming with thousands of tourists, the places that you'll queue for hours to get into. Those are the tourist traps. Those are the places where absolutely everyone is trying to get to, and not everyone will get to see. And many of them are actually ruined by the fact that too many people are going there. This is the list of the ones that, no matter how many people seem to go there, they're still worth the trip. They're still worth the effort of you standing in those queues, of fighting with the crowds, of elbowing your way through other people, of paying increased inflated prices for your lunch, etc., etc. So these are the top 10 awesome tourist traps. I've obviously excluded places like Machu Picchu, where they've limited the number of people who are allowed to go up there each day. These are just the places that are a bun fight that are still somehow awesome. Right. So, at number 10 is the Louvre. It's probably most famous for the Mona Lisa, but there's a lot more reasons to go there and fight your way through the crowds. Some of the most recognizable art pieces in history are there, and most of the crowds are just fighting to go and see the Mona Lisa anyway. Actually, if you elbow your way to the front of the Mona Lisa thing, yes, it's not spectacular anymore because we've seen 1,000 copies of it, but it's certainly a memorable experience anyway. Give the Louvre a chance. Number 9, the British Museum. Okay, it's an attraction that's jam-packed with people during the holiday seasons particularly, but there is so much to see that it would take you days to get through the whole thing. There are, in fact, so many exhibits. I actually caught myself at one point while I was going through there thinking, not another room full of perfectly preserved ancient mummies. It's one of those kind of places. But there's so much to do there. And did I mention it's all free? So it's well worth going just for that. Number 8, the Eiffel Tower. Okay, the Eiffel Tower, it's Paris, right? You got to go and see the Eiffel Tower. And you will queue for hours if you don't have a special pass to jump the queue. It is something of a tourist trap. But here's a tip. If you go after dark and you get your chance to kind of ascend to the top of the tower, the view alone of Paris under lights is spectacular. Definitely go to the Eiffel Tower. Number 7 is the Colosseum. Now, the Colosseum's got a bit of a reputation for having criminals kind of lurking outside, trying to defraud everyone and cheat them out of their money, and pickpockets and all that kind of stuff. And people say, oh, well, it's just an old building. But really, it was completed basically 80 years before the birth of Christ, I think, and it's one of Rome's biggest tourist attractions. And when you go there, just the history that's evident in the place is unbelievable. And they've started really excavating it and making it very, very visible. And there's some very good tours, and you get audio tours that you take with you around. It's very well worth it. If you do like your history, it is a place that you absolutely do need to see. Number 6 is the Acropolis in Athens. Again, you're going to queue with thousands of people to get into the little park, and you're going to slog your way to the top of the hill in what's actually a pretty damn horrible walk because it's steep and it's hot. And when you get to the top, it's totally worth it. Quite apart from the fact that all the buildings you see around you are thousands of years old and basically take you back to the dawn of Western civilization. Right at the top, there's the Parthenon, that famous building. And even if you can ignore all of that history, it still offers the best views of Athens you're possibly going to get at all. So, well worth a stop. Number 5 is the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul in Turkey. It's one of the new 7 wonders of the world. Tourists line up for hours and hours and hours to get in there. But the Hagia Sophia has been standing since the 6th century. It's one of the best examples of Byzantine architecture in the world. It used to be a church at one time. It was a mosque at one time. There's fountains, tombs, rooms used for worship. Really is the kind of place that's worth going. And how often do you get to see a building that's been around for about 1,500 years? Number 4, the Tower of London. Again, several queues, several lines. You're going to queue to get in. You're going to queue to see the gems. You're going to queue to see the crown jewels. But still worth it, particularly if you can get a tour with the beef eaters, because those guys, they're going to take you through the history of the place, and they're kind of funny as well. Many of those tours are actually well worth it just as a comedy show. So, yes, the Tower of London, still worth going to. Number 3, is Neuschwanstein Castle, which was created by the Mad King Ludwig. It's in the south of Germany. It's part castle, part fairy tale, and part Wagner museum. The tragic story of King Ludwig, together with his grand vision, which was so enchanting that Walt Disney tried to steal it and copy it and make it his own thing, make the crowds and the kind of conveyor belt tours that you go on really worth it anyway. It's an absolutely epic place set in a really beautiful valley, and just seeing somebody having that much kind of such an expansive vision in such an incredible place is really worth it. Also, the beers. Just go there for the beers. The King Ludwig brewery beers are unbelievable. Number 2 is the Vatican. If you've been to Italy, you'll know what the Vatican's about. It is queues that can take you literally hours just to get in the front door. And obviously, the Sistine Chapel is the big attraction. Once you do make it inside, you're still going to battle the crowds along kind of narrow pathways, but you're also going to see some of the world's best artworks, including Michelangelo's famous paintings on the ceilings of Sistine Chapel. Obviously, there's the creation of Adam, and yes, everything's kind of far away, but to actually see it in real life is an unbelievable experience, and there's so much more to that building. Every corner you turn around, there's an artwork by somebody famous, Botticelli or Raphael or Da Vinci. There's pieces of art there that if you're an art historian, you cannot afford to miss it, and it gives you a really stark insight into exactly what's going on there behind those usually closed doors. At number one, the number one tourist trap that is still worth going to is Angkor Wat in Cambodia. It's a sprawling temple complex which was first built in the 12th century. It's a true feat of human achievement. Over the centuries, it's been forgotten and rediscovered and excavated. Parts of it have been destroyed, but it still holds that kind of magical, spiritual feeling. It must have been an absolutely unbelievable place when it was first built, but you can go there and still get a real sense of what it was like. It's enormous. There's so much to see that actually you can lose these massive, massive crowds down quiet back alleys and find yourself standing in front of ancient statues that no one else is even looking at. So here is our top 10 tourist traps that are still well worth going to go and see. At number 10, the Louvre in Paris. Number 9, the British Museum. Number 8, the Eiffel Tower. Number 7, the Colosseum in Rome. Number 6, the Acropolis in Athens. Number 5, Hagia Sophia in Istanbul, Turkey. Number 4, the Tower of London. Number 3, Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany. Number 2, the Vatican. And at number 1, Angkor Wat in Cambodia.